We are moving on to console input. Console input. So we've seen output through system.out.println and system.out.print. But more often than not, it will be important to be able to grab information from the user in order to be able to accomplish a task. This is where two different pieces come into play: system.in and scanner. System.in is sort of the polar opposite to system.out. System.in allows you to take in information as opposed to pushing it out. But to try to read information directly from system.in is much more difficult than your beginner programmer really needs to be dealing with. So we use a special class called Scanner. Scanner helps to do the grunt work of interfacing between system.in and your program in order to make it easier to pull information from what the user has typed into the console. Say that again. Your program. So system.in is sort of how the user interacts with your program. But in order for it to be really useful in your program, you need something to sort of wrap its hands around it and work with it for you. That way what comes out of it is a little bit more meaningful. Okay? That being said, in order to be able to use Scanner, we have to use something called an import statement. Java is extremely large. Java in of itself is hundreds upon hundreds of classes that all do different things. And if you were to import them all for every single program, it would take forever for your program to actually compile. So what we do is we use import statements and we point to specific classes or specific packages that we want to import.
So don't do import star because that makes bad ugly.
So that being said, what we do is at the very top of our program is where our import statements go. And we type the word import and then the class that we want to import. Now we actually have to type in the package that that class is a part of. A package is just a special way of organizing classes into groups in Java. In this case, the way we reference Scanner is by typing java.util.scanner. Now Scanner is capitalized. Make sure that you type in the capitalization, and you do still need to put a semicolon at the end of the line. So that will make it so that we can use Scanner in our program. Now, one thing that I said that we would talk about a little bit later that we have to talk about now is how you create variables that are objects, because it's a little bit different. Objects, unlike primitive types, have to be constructed. The data that makes up their characteristics has to be filled in order so that you can use their behaviors. The way we do this is fairly similar to how you would create a primitive type variable with a couple of exceptions. To start with, you name a type, in this case, scanner, and then, like with primitive types, you give it a name. In this case, I'm just going to call it scan. Obviously, you can call it whatever you want. Scan's just easy for me. You then set it equal, and then you type the keyword new. New says to Java, I want to construct a new variable, a new object. In this case, we're going to construct a scanner. So we type the word scanner. and then we put a set of parentheses. Now, for scanner, in the parentheses we actually put parameters, but for scanner, we only have one parameter that we actually have to put. In this case, it's system.in, okay? And then we need to make sure we have a semicolon at the end. So this is how you create objects in Java. It's just a tiny bit different simply because the actual process involved for creating an object is more, yes, complex, but more user-defined. Rather than having an integer value, which is something that a computer can represent natively, a scanner is a value that someone created and used primitive values for in order to represent some greater function, some greater behaviors. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, like strings, scanners have methods. And there are several that we're going to talk about that will be used in order to accomplish a variety of different things. The first method that I'm going to show you guys is something called hasNext. Now, hasNext returns a true-false value. It will return true if the user has entered information and pushed enter. Okay? It will return false any other time. Okay? So if we say system.out.println and we say scan.hasNext, what should we see?
True. Well, false if we don't investigate.
I'm waiting on Hunter here because he seemed like he almost had it, but maybe not.
I'm gonna have to go with
Okay.
I feel like if you put something in it, it's gonna say true, but if not, it's gonna say false.
That's interesting.
Did you get quiet?
I did. My computer seems to be it's not loading. Apparently they've changed the behavior of hasNext since I last used it. Apparently, if you don't call one of the retrieval methods before calling hasNext, it will block indefinitely and your program will run forever. So don't do that. But if we say, let's say, scan.nextInt, which is what we'll talk about next, it should behave a little bit more normally. So let's go.
So instead of the technical one you got on the bottom, it's the technical one you got on the bottom.
Say that again.
So basically, instead of doing the one that you typed before, you type the one you just typed right now. You do basically the same thing, alright?
Perhaps my BlueJ installation is corrupted
That's what you said.
because I typed that. Alright, that's interesting. We're going to forget talking about hasNext, but it's supposed to work. Anyways, maybe I wrote down the wrong method. Either way, let's talk about nextInt. Let's just keep moving. NextInt, what it will do is it will allow you to return a character from the... No, not a character. I'm losing my train because I got another text message. NextInt, what it will do is it will allow you to get an integer from the user from the console. Okay? The user types in a value and they push enter and that value gets returned from the method. So if we say int value equals scan.next.nextInt and then system.out.println value, we should see, if this is going to work correctly. Something is not right here. We should see, when I type a number in here, we see 87. Okay? So if I type 87, it grabs the 87 and prints it.
So where exactly are you typing the 87?
Just in the terminal window. So like if I run this again, you see how the cursor is there?
Yeah.
8, 6, 7, 5, 3, 0, 9.
You just hit enter and it will automatically. So basically that just copies whatever you put in there.
Yes. In this instance, yes.
Okay.
So, that being said, we take in our value and we print it out, and it won't move on until you push enter. Now, what do you guys think will happen if I put text there? What happens if I type in text right now?
I cannot believe that it will compile all the way through every building error.
I get an error, a runtime error, not a compile error, but a runtime error.
Because it's an integer, not a word, not a string.
Java is expecting an integer to come through, and it got a string, and it got pissed off. So it ended the program and told you what the problem was. Was that thing starting up?
No, I went on. That was for power.
Lovely. Hopefully the power doesn't go out, because this laptop won't last more than an hour without power.
Yeah, well,
So, Brad, quick question. So, if you wanted to put an actual sentence there,
We're getting there.
I'm just wondering.
Slow your roll.
I'm sorry.
You're fine. So now we're going to talk about next double. Next double behaves the same way as next int. In fact, I'm actually going to replace this here. So double, whoopsies, my indentation is off now. Double value is equal to scan dot next double. Okay? So if I run the program now, if I could get to the right window, now I could type a number with decimals that are significantly longer. Give me the rubber band now.
see, I'm curious to me.
Anyways,
So basically, you can type up the number pi right now and it'll copy it.
and you can type integers too. I mean, obviously, you're not restricted to just typing. You're not restricted to just typing a decimal number, because technically all an integer is whatever the number is, .0. Okay? So, if you do type, let's say I run this again, and I type 87 again, it will type 87.0. Because it wants it to be a decimal. That is what it is storing.
And if you try to, instead of typing double, if you just have unit in there, and you try to do like 87.5, it would not.
It would give you a mismatch error.
Okay.
Because remember, an integer has to be a whole number.
Okay.
Alright, we got one more to talk about. And that is next line, which getting to what Hunter was asking about earlier. Next line allows you to pull in strings. So if I type string and I change this to next line, then what we can do is we can actually pull in a string of characters, spaces, punctuation, what have you, from the console. So if we go and we compile and we run, click OK, and we type the floor is lava, it will print the floor is lava. Okay? So, that being said, let me see if there's anything else that I want to talk about for this round. No, we are moving on to a different subject, arithmetic, next. So, which should be fairly fast. There are a couple of things that will be different from algebra that I'll have to show you guys, but it won't be that bad. And then we'll talk about your assignment for this week, and then we'll be done. And you guys will probably have a half an hour, 45 minutes to start your assignment while you're here. Are there any questions as of this moment?
No, mine.
Okay. So we're going to take a pause. I'm going to grab something out of my car to munch on because I haven't eaten much today. I haven't been feeling right. Now that I'm starting to feel a little bit better, I'm kind of hungry. So we're going to pause this video, come back here in a minute, and we will continue on with arithmetic.